Get logged into this thing so we can do that again. Everybody ready? We decide the poll. Just Cindy, and I will call you Lisa at some point tonight.
It's all good.
I apologize for that. Yeah, so 1 month is put in the budget. We don't put it like this is good. They finally got upgrades. This is what that installed.
Oh, they're not easy.
Absolutely. This was these crap.
They're not, there's a very,
It's clean.
Yeah. there's not a lot of good companies to make it.
Yeah, yeah, that has a whole three bottom. Bed sets. What's that? That maybe it's on a bed or something. Fine. It's like, I don't think so. Yeah, see, get over there. I only keep on it.
Much better than pond.
Yeah. I'm staining, just like, I don't know about staining, see what the bed's down.
Right.
The way you sleep in the bed.
That's a cool idea. I'm probably gonna do one in the Delaware.
Here's the, hire some to install it.
Oh, God, yeah.
So,
You moved it. So
so no, you don't even move. The cushion's off. The cushion. Really, like, bed is on the top side of that, pull that too. It's got legs that come out.
The coffee?
Yeah, it's on the ground, and it sits on this. It's just like beautiful. It's a little size. And then you move these into the back. It's got a bottom in that triangle.
There's like 4 feet from the thing. She turns it.
Yeah. Oh, she goes down from. No, insurance agent.
Softball
You
practice
have them?
for
Had really.
my daughter
Did
to
it?
high school.
Okay.
So. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
So works out good. Awesome.
What?
5 minutes late.
I don't know, it's just moving up for those.
Good, Sim?
Yep.
Start on a nationwide circuit.
Call to order the March 14th, 2024 Ventnor City Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Everyone please rise for the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Cindy.
Commissioner Kribel?
Here.
Commissioner Mento? Here. Mayor Langgraf?
Here. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. In accordance with the law, the agenda has been posted in City Hall and the city's website, www.ventnorcity.org. We do have back our live streaming. There is a statement on our agenda. If you want to read that, I'm not going to read it into the record. We read it first time we placed it on there. Basically gives us control whether or not we have to keep this running. If there's an interruption, we will keep the meeting going and not, we may not be on Zoom if there's an interruption. So that's all that says. So our first action, so this is our workshop. We're going to actually introduce our budget in this meeting because Leon Costello is here and it's that time of year that we do this. So we're going to propose a resolution. I need a motion for a resolution 2024.
Excuse me. Woman in the audience can't hear. We have a device and we can also speak into the mics.
Is that any better?
We'll try the mics.
Okay, I can do that. Move this closer, sorry. That is not, there we go. So we're going to look for a resolution, pass a resolution tonight, 2024-080, introducing the 2024 municipal budget. Can I get a motion for that, please?
Motion as described.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Mento?
Yes.
Mayor Langgraf?
Yes. And Cindy, you're going to read that into the record for us, right?
Sure, yes. Municipal budget of the city of Ventnor City, County of Atlantic for the fiscal year 2024. Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the municipal budget for the year 2024. Be it further resolved that said budget be published in the press of Atlantic City in the issue of March 21st, 2024. The governing body of the city of Ventnor City does hereby approve the following as the budget for the year 2024.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve that introduction of the budget, right?
Yes.
It's a little different than how we do things,
Okay.
other resolutions. So we need to,
Motion to approve?
Second.
roll call, please.
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Mento?
Yes.
Mayor Langgraf?
Yes.
Notice is hereby given that the budget and tax resolution was approved by the Commissioners of the City of Ventnor City, County of Atlantic on March 14th, 2024. A hearing of the budget and the tax resolution will be held at the Ventnor Municipal Building on April 11th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m., at which time and place objections to said budget and tax resolution for the year 2024 may be presented by taxpayers or other interested persons.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Leon, have any comments on this? You want to put anything out there? Or-
The only thing is, I gave you the whole
Mhm.
budget, which is everything that's in there, and then one piece of paper that really tells you the story.
Yeah.
It's all condensed into one spot. You have a slight tax increase. We're well within both caps. We could spend more money and raise more taxes if you wanted to.
Oops.
Yeah, you talking to the mic.
The budget is a slight tax increase, 2 cents. You could spend a lot more money and raise a lot more money in taxes. You're well within both the state cap laws. You're sound financially. You're in good hands with your CFO. And on the 11th, we'll field any questions anybody has about the budget, but you're really in good shape.
Mhm.
You're one of the lower increases this year. Last year, one of the higher, this year's one of the lower. I have two that are exactly 3.71, 3.71.
Two other nearby
Two other
municipalities,
nearby municipalities, yeah.
and we're under that.
Pardon me, and you're
Yeah.
under that, yeah.
We're at two,
Two,
1.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it's all good. There's no gimmicks in it, there's no one-timers. It's
Right,
a clean budget and, off you go.
right.
I have a comment.
Ma'am,
wanna add any?
this is a hearing. It can help you here.
Yeah.
Yes. You can, would that help? There you go. So got a little volume control. It's like a single. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, why don't you wait till you
I
come
just
back?
want to thank him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to go first?
If I could, yeah.
Okay.
How's that? Can you hear us better now? There you go.
Oh, that's great.
So what'll happen next is that on April 11th, you'll have the public hearing. We don't do anything with the budget other than you can talk about it, but we won't do anything formally until April 11th. At that time, this budget is presented again for the public hearing. Then it can be amended for anything are legally allowed to be changed. Like you can't change debt service, can't change pension. Those things are cast in stone. But things like somebody's salary and wage, somebody's other expense, you could change. So that can't be done till after the public hearing on the 11th, which somebody may make a motion to amend it to change something. You don't know what you're going to find between now and then. It might come in and we'd make that change and off we go. You are state exempt, so they will look at this budget. Every 2 years, 2 out of 3 years, you don't. This is the year that you are.
Okay. I know this, I mean, last year we had a significant increase, a lot of health insurance, health costs and everything was up
Pension.
last,
Mhm.
pensions were up last year. We're able to work with less of our fund balance this year, which was good. We used some of it, but not a lot.
Right.
To be able to keep that intact if you will. Leon, I thank you for a lot of the work you did, Amy, the whole staff, all the department heads, going through the budget and really trying to pare things down where we could. There's increases everywhere. I mean, no one likes increase funding, but we needed to do that to make sure we're funded properly. So I know, Maria, you wanted to.
Yeah,
Comments?
I want to thank Leon, first of all, for working very closely with us and giving us a really good budget and working with Amy. Thank you, Amy, for all you did and meeting with the department heads and going through everything with a fine tooth comb. We have the best auditor in the state, if not in the tri-state area, if not in the country. So, It's great. This is why we have you and we listen to you and we take your advice and sometimes you take ours, but for the most part, we take yours and, thank you, because I know we have the best guy at the table. You've been doing this for, I won't say how many years, but
50.
I could tell by the color of your hair. And, thank you for being a part of this and being with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is year 50
Wow.
for me.
See? I mean, who else could we get with all this experience? No one.
No, no, and I'll just add lastly is that we have them because and other cities have you, and it's partially and for me, putting perspective onto all the numbers and giving us the opportunity to know which levers to pull when we have to pull them, giving us scenarios, those types of things is really, really important. I think, and I appreciate that too. I think but it's also the complexion of the whole city. The city itself is growing. The ratables buoyed us in a lot of ways, and that's not always going to happen, but it is. This is the kind of thing where we have to kind of count our blessings in some ways.
Yeah.
Every year.
Mhm.
And this year we've got those ratables that have been increasing year over year. And we have the benefit of some interest rates increasing. So that
Mhm.
buoyed us in some way. So we're careful to keep the monies that we did have gaining interest. So that it's a lot of moving parts, and we're on a winning side, even though it is a slight increase comparatively speaking. I think we're a competitive town.
Without a doubt. And you're going to see towns that traditionally have almost no increase or all increasing. It's
Right.
The biggest issue is going to be controlling the state spending cap
Mm.
to be able to spend enough money that you need to spend and stay within the legal limit. Because as we're earning more interest, you have more money to spend, but you can only spend up to a certain dollar amount.
Right.
So that's going to be the trick going forward.
No, it's all right. Well,
But
I
you're
guess
in
we'll
good
learn
shape.
more we'll talk more on the 11th about how it all gets distributed a little bit and what the share of the dollar is, that kind of thing,
Mhm.
for the actual taxpayer dollar.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leon.
Thank you.
I don't think you have to stay for anything else.
No, I don't think so.
You
Right?
got enough of these this month.
Another town to go to.
Another
Right.
town.
I was in town last night from 7 to 9:10.
Wow.
Listen to cannabis discussions.
Tuesday, I was in Logan Township from 5:30.
No sample.
No, no sample. From 5:30 to 9:30,
Right.
almost 10 o'clock.
Oh, God.
All right.
long
Well,
meeting.
thank you.
Thank
for
you, Leon.
everything. Yep. See you soon. Yep.
Thank you.
I'll email the budget back with the vote.
Picking up with the rest of our workshop meeting, we have items next would be presentations. I don't believe we have any tonight. Department head reports, we're going to start bringing them back.
Yep.
Probably sometime in maybe May.
Yeah, I think it's a good
I
idea.
don't think after the budget's done, we'll have these
Mhm.
guys come back in. So department head reports coming up in the springtime, later in the spring. No capital discussion at this time as well. Following items are scheduled for action. Minutes, we have no minutes to adopt. We do have several ordinance introductions. We've got 5, it looks like. The first is ordinance 2024-004. Stating adopting green purchasing policy. You're going to see a couple of these and then a couple of resolutions as well. What we're looking to do is assist our green team to move forward with their silver level of accomplishments, I guess it
Right.
is. Not only that, it also helps our environment, reduce waste, product efficiency across tasks and use of materials in the city, minimize environmental impacts. There's also an ordinance, I don't think it's part of this, but that I do want to pursue. And our neighbors to the south are doing something like this with building materials, where you have the AZAC materials nowadays, where you have a lot of plastics that when you cut that, it's not sawdust, it's plastic.
Mhm.
And we're going to put in place some requirements that when you are cutting that outside,
Mhm.
it's controlled. That's not part of this ordinance, but that's something that I've talked to code about. And Margate has started talking about it as well, especially beachfront areas. It gets into our water. So,
Mhm.
so that's the first ordinance that we'll introduce. Any questions on that one?
No.
Yeah.
The second one is 2024-005. It's our salary ordinance. Salary range sets ranges of officers and employees of the city, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances hereto adopted, the provisions of which are inconsistent herewith. That's a mouthful. I should have had Cindy read that one. These are the salaries and compensation for our employees. So I think we've individually met with Tom and
Yes.
department heads and gone through all that. So
Yearly. Mhm.
every year we do this, right?
Mhm.
Next ordinance is 2024-006. And that is repealing ordinance 2018-025, an ordinance creating the ad hoc committee for the city of Ventnor. And ordinance 2018-031, an ordinance amending same, also known as chapter 22 of the code of the city of Ventnor, entitled ad hoc committee. That was a committee we started to get community input.
Right.
And community ideas for different things.
Mhm.
We met constantly for about the first 4.5, maybe even 6 years.
Yeah.
Up to 6 years of our terms here, our administration. Not met in over 18 months.
We were trading off every other. Each
Yeah.
of us would go to
Yep.
one. And at the first few months and year or so, it was active.
It was very active. COVID hit and that kind of put the pause on it. And then to get the people to come back, the comments that I kept getting when I would say, hey, guys, let's meet again. You're accessible.
Right.
Saying that to me from them, saying that we're all accessible now. There's not a real need for that committee. They can just pick up the telephone and call us.
Right.
So they haven't met in 18 months, I'll say. So I reached out to them again and it's like, there's no real need for this. So
Yeah.
we're gonna end it. If we see a need again, we'll bring it back.
Absolutely.
It was something that started out gangbusters and we got some good ideas that we've put into place where we could. And then it just faded. So.
Yeah.
All right. That's the explanation of that. And always my favorite resolution of every year, ordinance every year is 2024-007, because I think of James Bond every time I read 007.
Right.
So
Mhm.
it's setting salaries and wages and compensation for members of the Ventnor City Lifeguards. And these are standard increases that these guys got. You want to chat about that a little bit?
Yeah, Tom and I met with the beach patrol heads and he crafted actually spent some time, a lot of back and forth to make the salaries and wages competitive. In a beginning, there was a disconnect between what guards that have been here a few years would be making, what some starting guards in other towns would be making, and that made us non-competitive for kids that were eligible. And it's a difficult job, not only to get guards. I think there's a small pool. These guys have to be in very good conditioning. And so now I think we were very careful, Tom and David Funk were really crunched the numbers. So they should take the credit for bringing this into a line where we can be on par with other competitive cities. So is that fair to say, Tom?
Yes, I think that's perfectly fair to say, except that David deserves most of the credit for the work. He really dug deep,
He did.
gathered all of the data from our neighboring communities, put together spreadsheets to show us where we were deficient or where we were lagging behind. He made his case
That's right.
for why we needed to do what this ordinance would do. My role was to test him on it to make sure that we really had the numbers right, but he did most of the work and I
Right.
want him to get that
Yeah.
credit.
Good. Yeah. It makes
Thank you all for
makes
doing
sense.
that. I will recuse myself from the vote on that ordinance as my son
Right.
is a lifeguard.
Yeah.
But he's deployed right now, so he won't be here this summer or the next couple. But as our ordinance allows, once he comes back and goes back on the beach, they count these years. So I'm going to recuse myself from that ordinance. So
Understood.
we have one more ordinance. Any questions on that, Maria?
No.
Okay. One more ordinance to introduce, and that's ordinance 2024-008, ordinance of the city of Ventnor entitled Vehicles and Traffic, specifically section 214-29 entitled Schedule 1, No Parking. This deals with our street ends towards the boardwalk and beach. There's kind of a haphazard fire lane or no parking in some blocks, not in others. When the streets were paved, a lot of those markings went away.
Right.
So what this does, and I thank both Commissioner Kriebel, Tom for going into this, our city engineer, both past and present, and Chief Fussner and his crew for actually going out and inventorying all of what we had on these street ends. And we've got a consistent ordinance now that will set a line, I believe it's 75 feet back from that street end. Yes, we'll paint a line. We are going to keep the signs up on either side. We're also going to paint a line there that says no parking here to the boardwalk or something like that beyond this point. And that should make it consistent for each of the street ends in the city. Those areas are reserved for emergency access, for beach and boardwalk.
Yeah, I would just add that we actually pick up 2 parking places. in
Yes.
this conversation.
Not in each
And that-
block.
Not in each block. Net,
Net,
net 2
Net.
parking places.
right. So any questions on that, Maria?
No.
This is a long time coming because it did take a lot of field work to get this
Yeah.
really down pat.
Yeah, and I think it just is going to speak to, for me anyway, despite the lack of organization, it's going to give people a similar cue that every time they go to the beach block, they'll know that this is not an area that they can park in. It'll, you know, and it'll organize it visually, I think.
Thank you. We have no ordinance public hearings or adoptions tonight. These are just introductions. Next on the agenda will be resolutions. We're not adding any resolutions tonight, just these are the correct ones, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to adopt these by consent. And they are resolutions 2024-081 through 091. The first being 081, and that is refunding of volleyball league fees to a Mark Martinez. Any questions there? If you don't, just interrupt me if there's questions. Resolution 082 is authorizing the transfer of 2023 appropriation reserves. Amy, we're all good with that? This is something we do each year. Yep. 083 is authorizing an amendment to the 2024 temporary budget. Again, something we do every year right before we pass our current budget. Tom, you have anything on that?
No, just so that everyone understands it in the public, the temporary budget only covers the first quarter of the year. And since the budget won't be adopted until into April, we need to have a temporary budget extend to that month so that we can continue to operate.
Right, and we do that in accordance with state statutes.
Correct.
Right.
If we were able to adopt the budget by the end of March, you wouldn't need to do this.
Right. Next resolution 084 is again adopting green building practices for civic, commercial and residential buildings. Moving that forward again, trying to help with our green team and in the environment. Following on that same theme, resolution 085 is New Jersey, state of New Jersey supporting anti-idling ordinances through the town or resolutions through the town. And that sets different areas where you don't leave vehicles idling for longer than a certain amount of time. 086, adopting green grounds and maintenance policy. This is going to affect our public works guys and using different materials and better materials to protect our environment. 087, authorizing the closing of the boat ramp and authorizing no parking at Ski Beach and waiver of fees on Friday, April 19th from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the VECC Home and School Color Run fundraiser. I'm going to try and get to that. I don't know if I'm going to run anywhere.
Right.
I'm going to try and get to that. It's an event. I think it's kind of a new event. I don't think.
Well, they've always had it. They're opening it up more to the public now.
Okay.
So it's always been at the school.
Right.
So
that's
that
what I
it's going to
remember.
be more open to the public, which I think it's a popular type of event. It's in April, so it shouldn't really affect the boat traffic too much, but
Is that where they spray?
so they
It's
throw,
like a powdered color and it sticks to your shirt.
Yeah.
At the landfill.
Yep.
That was fun.
I don't know what you were throwing at the landfill. We don't know if we want to think.
Rick, you're going to do it too, right?
You haven't seen his outfits yet.
Okay.
Wait do you see the outfits that Rick comes in? So next resolution 088 is establishing salaries for 2024. And this follows up after our ordinance, correct? That they go hand in hand.
Yes, the ordinance establishes ranges. This sets the specific numbers for each year
Right.
within those ranges.
Gotcha. And 089, authorizing refund for a tax overpayment. 090 is awarding a contract for right to know responsibilities in compliance with the Atlantic County Joint Insurance Fund to J.A. Montgomery for an amount not to exceed $4,030. We're all good with that, right?
Mhm.
And the last one is 091, contract for Winchester Avenue Bulkhead Project 2024-001 to Walters Marine Construction, the amount of $1,283,916. And that is the Winchester Avenue bulkhead along at our Jackson Avenue border coming
Okay.
back into the city. So
So from Jackson to,
I forget the name of the end of the street to where it stops. It runs all the way to that first house.
the
Yeah.
first turn, I guess
Yeah.
it would be.
Dudley?
Okay.
Might be Dudley. I think it is Dudley. Yeah.
Is this partly grant funded?
Yes, this is almost mostly grant funded. $500,000 of this is funds we received, believe it or not, from Orsted.
Hmm.
Fund this. And
That's
I
right.
think we got some of this also from DEP.
Okay, good,
So-
that's good.
A lot of that money is grant funded. Next, we'll go through our bills and payroll. I don't see any discussion items on the agenda, so no discussion. At this point, we'll open it up to the public for comments on what we've talked about so far this evening. If you have something to talk about that's not on the agenda, we will have a second public hearing, public comment period for that. So we'll have that later in the meeting, but tonight, for now, we'll just do what we've spoken about so far. So if anybody here wants to speak about anything on the agenda, please step forward and state your name. Come on up, ladies. You're gonna tag team, right? Moral support.
Erin? So I'm Erin McDevitt and I'm part of the Ventnor Home and School and we're here for the Ventnor, the color run. We just
Oh.
wanted to, so thank you so much. It's going to be so much fun. We usually have it at the school, but this year we thought let's do something a little different, have the community and, potentially other communities and just more people. So it all fundraises for the school, for the
Right.
kids.
Great,
This-
great.
Hi,
Thanks,
my
Erin.
name is Jennifer Langner. I'm with Erin. I'm also on the board and I just wanted to say thank you and I hope to see you there. Marilyn.
Yeah,
That'll be
Yeah, I'm
fun.
gonna try and make that. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, ladies. Thanks for coming out.
yeah. So as a community event, we waive fees for that.
Yes, absolutely.
I
Yes,
don't know if I'm asking the right question now, talking about the parking signs that were put up.
You can pull that down to you. Can you maybe?
So if it was something we talked about parking on street ends.
And everything. I got 2 tickets within the past 2 weeks. And I park there all the time where I go. And, actually, I thought one of the areas was Margate,
I'm not,
of course, from Geno's,
Right.
of course, from the doctor's end. I got a ticket there last week.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
I got one probably the week before, on the street,
second.
next to
you,
Wawa.
hold 1 second.
What was your name again? I'm sorry, we didn't get your name.
We have,
I'm sorry,
we have to get
What was
your
your
name
name?
and address
what was my name?
Yes,
and,
ma'am.
and address
Carolyn Merritt,
and your address.
Berkshire Drive, Ventnor.
Thank you.
Was that an issue that I should have talked about now
No.
or no?
It-
Or is it
It's
next time?
probably at the end of the meeting because it's not about the,
Then I'll wait.
okay,
I'll
great.
wait.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Open up to the public on Zoom, Jim?
Anybody on Zoom wish to speak or question any of the items that are being voted upon or have been discussed? Please raise your hand within Zoom or in the chat function and I will unmute you. No,
Seeing none, we'll close the public portion for both Zoom and in the courtroom, commission chamber, excuse me. I'll need a motion to close the public workshop and open the regular meeting.
Motion to close the public workshop and open the public meeting.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
All right, we'll call to order our regular meeting of the Ventnor City Board of Commissioners. We have no minutes to approve. We'll cover them at our next meeting. The first item is an ordinance introduction. Ordinance 2024-004 is the green purchasing policy ordinance. Need a motion, please?
Motion to introduce ordinance 2024-004.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Mento?
yes.
Mayor Langgraf?
Yes. All right. Next item is introduction of ordinance 2024-005. It is the 2023 salary compensation and salary ranges of officers and employees ordinance.
Motion to introduce ordinance 2024-005 as
Sec-
described.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Mento?
yes.
Mayor Langgraf?
Yes. Third ordinance introduction is 006, 2024-006. And that is the ordinance that will repeal the ad hoc committee. Need a motion, please?
Motion to introduce ordinance 2024-006 as described.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Mento?
Yes.
Mayor Langgraf?
Yes. And then we have introduction of ordinance 2024-007, salary and wages and compensation for members of the Ventnor City Lifeguards. Roll call, or motion, please.
Motion to introduce ordinance 2024-007.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Mento?
Yes.
Mayor Langgraf?
Abstain. Okay, and then we have ordinance 2024-008. This is the vehicles and traffic, specifically section 214-29, entitled Schedule 1, No Parking. Need a motion to introduce that ordinance, please.
Motion to introduce ordinance as described.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Mento?
Yes.
Mayor Langgraf?
Yes. Okay, we have no public hearings on any ordinances, no ordinances adoptions. We'll need a motion to adopt resolutions 2024-081 through 091 by consent.
Motion to adopt ordinances by consent, or ordinances 00081 by 091.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Mento?
Yes.
Mayor Langgraf?
Yes. Okay, Amy, you have our bills and payroll, please?
Payrolls for this period is $593,808.61. Payables for this period, $773,318.71.
Okay. Need a motion to approve bills and payroll as stated by our CFO?
Motion to approve bills and payroll. As
I- I second, but I am also recusing myself from 131 digital media and 481 recycling.
Thank you, Maria. Roll call, please?
Commissioner Kribel?
yes.
Commissioner Mento?
Yes.
Mayor Langgraf?
Yes. Okay, we have any announcements in our safety report if needed? I don't believe so. Commissioner comments and reports. Go with Maria again.
Okay, I have some news. The voting location for District 3 has changed from the school to the community center. Thank you, Lisa, for working that through with the county. So that's it's better for the school. We're not, impinging on their day and having to deal with security for the children and all of that. So those of us that go to the library to vote will now be going to the community center, which is behind, I'm sorry, those that go to the school now to vote will now be going to the community center, which is behind our library. I also like to congratulate, I say Q. She got her municipal finance officer's license, which, as I said before, when Amy passed her exam, this is a big deal. This is someone who went through 8 or 9 classes, and I know because I did it 30 years ago. And then you sit for a fairly long exam, takes most of the day. It used to be 2 parts. I don't know if it still is 2 parts. Yeah. It's accounting and it's legal. And so we have another professional in the finance office that is certified, and which is great for us,
Good.
It's really good for us. And tax assessor is really busy, still busy, with the new construction deeds, processing them, and that's a good thing. And, as he notes also that the values have risen significantly since 2020. And our tax collection office is doing what they do every day, still working hard. And we know Amy's been working real hard with the budget. And she told me today we got a grant, which I think this is more Tim's area, but we got a grant for 50,000 for recreation, for Suffolk Avenue Recreation Complex. So that's good news too.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Kriebel?
Great news on the grant. I have 2 things to start out with. I met today with 2 representatives from from Rutgers Jacques Cousteau National Research Reserve in Tuckerton. They've been referred to me to be a partner in the Eco Park with training and grant writing, things of that nature. They're very excited about the possible opportunities that resource that we can have. They're happy to be in on the ground floor and sort of the planning stages of it. And so that was a good connection made. Going forward, they're going to be part of the team as we get into the design phase of it as well, because they have a training aspect with public. They have some educational programs already online that they can bring to us. So they're already talking about some potential programs that we could include there. And then I do have a minute to speak about a change in plans with the band shell. So we received our timing for that, and we met yesterday. We received our timing for the bid process, and we met yesterday with Public Works and special events to discuss the time frame. And based on a lot, not just a public outcry, it was kind of heartening to see how many people really love that concert series. You know, I was maybe being more practical, knowing that construction can be unpredictable. I was hedging my bets to get it done for next season, and it kind of bared out in a way that I'll be posting the actual construction schedule, but the bid requirements, the authorized bidding, the advertising for bidding, the pre-bid meetings, the bid opening, and potentially the notice of award wouldn't be online until the end of May. So for that reason, and just from a practicality standpoint, we're going to be pushing the construction to the beginning of September. So right after the Labor Day holiday, we'll be starting construction as yet to be determined contractor, but it will dovetail with us tearing down or relocating the beach tent that is on the city side of the dunes. We'll, at the same time, with the help of Public Works, we'll tear down the existing gazebo and prepare that site for a temporary stage so that we can have the concerts on Newport Avenue on a Saturday schedule, as we always have. And I think there's only one exception and I have to thank Donna for the extra work she's done on the working and reworking of that schedule. But the Donna Peterson and special events is doing a great job with that reworking. We'll have the new vendors in a new location. We'll have the stage in that location. With one exception, Memorial Day weekend, because there's so much activity that weekend, you've got the beginning of the farmer's market on that Friday. Saturday is signups for the Kenny Whalen Run, which usually occupies a great deal of that parking lot. So to have the concert that night, so we're going to continue to have the already scheduled Memorial Day celebration out at Ski Beach. It's a larger venue, can be as large a party as we like. And then that Sunday is the Kenny Whalen Run. And of course, Memorial Day is Monday. So that's the schedule at this point. And I think it makes sense. I think it makes a lot more sense. We do have a relocated, sort of reconfigured that area so that the homes and the parking can be open, and that the main activities of vendors and food trucks and is behind the library, and that's going to work better for the library and for, I think, the community in general. So I think it wasn't a straight line, but we got there.
Agreed. I think it's a good call to push it, mainly because the construction, everything got delayed through the state permitting process.
11 months.
Our CAFRA permit is what took a long time to get through. Had we had that in September, we would have built this thing over the winter. And that was the plan.
Sure.
We didn't get that permit until, I think, January. So
yeah, and
around that time.
and no, you're 100% right. And as it is with permit submittals, utilities shutting off, contractor mobilizing right in the beginning of September, we're still looking at
January, February of finish.
January, February.
Yeah.
Finish.
Yep.
So that puts us in a window
And
that
it gives us a buffer.
gives
for
us a
next
bit of a
spring.
buffer.
So,
Yeah.
while we would all love to have had this done for this summer, it's just not going to happen. And we're,
Yeah.
I think it's a good call. Look, and look, there was a lot of public outcry for it, and that's what we like to see. We like to see people getting involved and let us know.
And we never wanted to cancel them. We're really, quite frankly, we're doubling down and reinvesting in that space so that we can have
We were
bigger.
never canceling them. That headline
No.
was wrong.
Right.
We
Yeah.
were moving them. We weren't canceling them.
Right.
It's a lot of moving parts with this. I don't think
Yeah.
people realize that.
Yeah. No.
And some things you have to start early, lining up your vendors and entertainers and so but great job.
Yeah.
Great job. And Tim, on the park, I just have to say, this is going to happen.
I think it will.
It's going to happen and, you've been working at it,
Just chipping away.
behind your door,
Chipping
chipping away at it.
away.
And, the interest you're getting from
Make sure
other.
it's not AZAC you're chipping away.
Yeah.
So that's,
I better get that here. The interest we're having that you're getting for this is like amazing
Yeah.
and exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
it,
stuff.
it really is. I think there's more to come. And I think with everybody that's on board, the more you talk to people about it, the more exciting it gets. I think you mentioned ACIT, we could get them involved in.
yeah, the
You know-
students are, their instructor Drew, who's worked with these guys to doing this pocket park
Mhm.
design. When I told him about it, his eyes lit up. He's a
Yeah.
landscape architect. He's like loving this. So.
Right in, yeah. And we
and-
want to, we want to see those kind of blue sky ideas from a
Yep.
design standpoint that I come from. This is really kind of my wheelhouse. I'd like that design process, to allow that sort of that brainstorming phase and kids like the ACIT kids and maybe even some schools. That was one of the things brought up today. There's a department at Rutgers that does this sort of thing as well, to open that up to Rutgers to do a conceptual plan before we start to allow, bring in professionals and to let them make presentations. I did that in college to major manufacturers and sometimes youth and inexperience is in your favor and you can come up with ideas you never,
Yeah,
that
I like it.
professionals didn't know.
That it?
Yeah.
Okay, just a couple things on my end. At our last meeting, we couldn't talk about it, but later that night, we found out we could talk about it. 15 minutes, right? It was crazy. I did announce it at Nucky's that night. Pretty exciting news. So Ventnor City was awarded $7.12 million of the state's boardwalk funding grant. There's $100 million out there. They spread it around quite a few municipalities. Ventnor was at the top of that list for the smaller towns. We got, as I said, just over $7 million to reconstruct portions of our boardwalk. This won't just be decking. This will be reconstruction from pilings on up.
Wow.
So we've started that process. It's a quick turnaround. You have to spend these dollars by December of 2026.
Right.
So we are in the process, our city engineer, along with Jim Rattel, our grant coordinator, is in touch with the state. I've been on those calls already, Zoom calls with them. They are really getting us turned around. I think we've already submitted back some documents to them. Tom would know better than me.
Yeah, we actually did. We actually, I guess, got ahead of ourselves because they had sent us a draft agreement. We were okay with it, so we signed it and sent it back. And they said, no, this was just a draft.
Okay.
If you're okay with it, we'll send you the real thing.
And just for clarification purposes, everybody can see in the front page that Atlantic City already started theirs. That's not this money. They received $6 million from DCA last year to do boardwalk reconstruction. So that's that money being used.
Got it.
Atlantic City got 20 million, Asbury Park got 20 million. Some of the towns down south, North Wildwood and things, they got $4 and $5 million chunks. But we were right up there. We were, I think, top 7 of the state that
Yeah.
got the most money. So I will be very honest, and I've told you guys all this. I didn't think we were getting anything.
Right.
So, I was thrilled when we got that phone call. And I will say this, and I told the governor's office this. Like I'm friends. The governor called me personally. That's a cool phone call to get.
Yeah.
And he answers, I pick up the phone. Hello, Lance Sanger. Hey, Governor. Or no, he said, Lance, Phil Murphy. Like, Governor Phil Murphy? It's like, yeah, how you doing? I said, I'm doing really good. How are you doing? Just wanted to personally call you and tell you you got this much money. And I was like, best phone call I ever got. So it was a really good phone call to get. So,
Well, I just want to dwell on this a minute because I don't want to underplay it. This is a lot of money and it's also has a direct relationship on funds that we would have spent to repair them if needed. I mean,
the
these are,
underpinnings of the boardwalk are aging. The piling, we've done some of this on our own. It's about to replace about a 30-foot section, just the underpinnings. It's about $15,000 to $20,000.
Right.
Just to, and that's to put the same boards back on, but new pilings or do piling caps.
Yeah.
We've done that at several locations over the past 4 or 5 years. It's expensive.
Yeah.
The dunes themselves, while the dunes protect that boardwalk, also age it
Right.
because the circulation of air doesn't get underneath it. So that's a lot of what's happening. The pilings are starting to rot. They've been in the ground for 60 years.
Right. Yeah.
60
Yeah.
plus years. So
And
it is a lot.
Last thing I'll mention is even though this is a specific grant that was only available for boardwalk or that sort of thing, we responded quickly, to your department's credit. I mean, it was a quick
It
turnaround
was a
from the
real quick turn.
from the application process.
Yep.
It was not like a normal
Yeah,
grant.
Jim Ruttell and Ed Stinson, our previous engineer, did a great job getting this in.
Yeah.
And a comment from the governor, not from his staff, from the governor, the application was exemplary.
Right.
And that's why we were at the top of the list and got the money we got.
Yeah.
So kudos to those guys. We'll keep that project moving.
Can I add something at this point before you
Sure.
move on? One of the things that I'd like you to think about over the course of the next month or so, we need to appropriate those monies before we can spend them.
Right.
And we've had some very preliminary discussions internally, and I talked to Leon about it just this evening. And I would like to suggest that you consider that we include those funds in a bond ordinance and do the bond ordinance for the full amount that we were originally planning on doing. So that, as you know, that's not a commitment or an obligation to spend it.
Set us up
We would
for those.
include the 7 million as partial, as funding that
Right.
ordinance. But then you have the appropriation for the rest in the event that you want to go forward with any portion of it. It may turn out that we get good bids when you go out to bid and we are able to extend it beyond what we originally thought. Just something for you to think about, that
Right.
we may
Right.
want to do the ordinance for the full amount, which I think was 24 million, 25 million.
25 million, yeah.
Because you're
Tom,
going to have to do it at some point.
or in the event we get additional funding, it's already there in the
Yeah,
ordinance.
I think they made it clear that there's not likely to be another round of
another
funding
source.
like this.
Yeah.
But I guess if some of the towns don't use their money or fail to meet the deadlines, maybe it goes back into the pot to be redistributed. I'm not sure. I don't want to.
Or if another grant
speculate
comes
about
along,
that,
a
or
different
another
source,
grant.
it's in the ordinance already, we wouldn't have to do it again.
Right.
Okay.
I like the sound of that.
Yep, I do too. Couple other things real quick. I will not be at our next meeting, so I want to say this tonight. Jimmy Agnesino is retiring at the end of March. He's been our construction code official here for going on 25, 26 years, something like that. Quite a long time. So he's retiring April 1st. We're moving people around in that department to step up. We'll also be bringing on a zoning officer to cover that part of Jimmy's role. He's been exemplary in that spot, been a really good construction code official. He not only handles our inspections and code office, he works with Longport as well, and helps out down there, not helps out, but as part of their code enforcement and construction office. So will be a big loss for our department head, big shoes to fill for Dino Cavalieri when he steps into that role. I'm not going to get into pickleball courts. That's an issue. It's still ongoing. I know that's been a comment out in the public with the condition of them. We are going to look to doing some temporary repairs, and for this summer. The previous contractor out there didn't do a great job on repairing them. We're going to get someone else in there to do what needs to be done now. We don't want to basically, we need to take the courts up and rebuild them.
Right.
We're not going to do that now because we would lose the summer.
Right.
Or the early summer doing that. So we're going to get through this summer with some repairs and then come up with a project to resurface those and the basketball court.
Okay, I guess I would just ask that we get a meeting together with the Pickleball Association. We've been in
You've
You've been in contact. Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yep.
They've been contacting me.
We are also moving forward with getting the clock replaced on the library clock tower.
Yay.
Yeah, yay. Wait do you hear how much that's gonna
Oh.
be?
It's not much.
The Chickarone TikTok clock. What did I say the other day? What was it? It was well, it's 12 grand. So it's a little bit of money.
We just talked about spending 20 million. Come on.
It's not a digital clock. Come on. But yeah, so.
Maybe
we're
we
moving
should
forward.
make it, it is an atomic clock though, right? So you don't have to get up there and change it when daylight savings or anything.
I'm hoping so. I'm not getting up there and changing the clock. So, so that is moving forward. It did take quite a while to find a contractor to do it. And then that contractor had some issues getting here to look at it. And then they finally got us a price back. So that'll be moving forward in the next few months. So hopefully we get that clock working. It's always been right at least twice a day. So we're
Right.
going to move forward.
Well, actually, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. We talked about that. Remember, you guys
was
thought
changing.
that it was like dead, but
Right.
and I kept passing and thinking, "Well, that's not the same time it was this morning." I said, so I kept watching it for a few days. I said, it's not dead, it doesn't keep the correct time, but the hands do move. So,
I think someone climbing
so
up
the
there and
fact
moving
that,
those
yeah,
hands around.
you thought the wind was blowing and I said,
Yeah.
no, it's not happening.
Rick, you were doing that. You were climbing up there, weren't you?
So if it
One of those,
were
one of those
actually
private
dead, it
decks
would
you're
have,
talking about, that's one of them.
So it's a broken.
if it were
clock.
dead, it would have been right twice a day, but it wasn't. It's never been right.
Never been right. All right. So enough of that.
Yes.
Now we'll go to public
Can
comment.
I'm sorry, I want to add one more thing to your comments about Jimmy and just to add my thanks to him. He's been a delight to work with. He's a very smart guy. He really knows the business, not only the construction stuff, but the zoning. So, you know, we've been well served. You know it better
Yep.
than I, but I wanted to just add my 2 cents worth on that. But also I wanted to mention that at the next meeting, and Mayor, I know that you're not going to be here, I expect to have a new agreement with Longport relative to that shared service agreement. I'll get it to you. I've sent them a draft. We're looking to renegotiate and revise that shared service that we provide to Longport
Okay.
at terms more favorable to us. And in fact, with an eye towards it terminating in several months. So in the interim, while they are making arrangements for to handle that service themselves or through a third party or whatever they're going to do, we will continue to provide the service, but I said at terms that are more in our favor.
Okay,
So,
good.
You know, speaking of, you know, how you hear, oh, it's a small world. Well, when Jimmy was a young boy, which was before I was born, my uncle, who's probably been passed now, dead for 50 years, used to cut his hair. He was a barber.
That's,
And like, you know, because where they were from, my mother's side of the family was from that area. And yeah, it's a small world. And the first time I met Jimmy, you know, he talks loud and I'm like, are you yelling at me or you just talk loud? And he goes, I just talk loud. I'm like, okay.
remember this conversation. Is he yelling at me?
Is he yelling at me?
No. All right, good. Last thing to do is our public comment. Ma'am, I think this is the time we're going to open the public to anything you want to talk about. So please step forward and ask your question.
My name is Lorraine Morano. I live at 452 Berkshire Drive. I live here all year round. I live alone in the house. Now, I realize that we live in a short community and people do rent. But recently, I don't know if the next door neighbors are zoned for Airbnbs because every weekend in the summer, there's new people there. I don't know how they're vetted. If, you know, I mean, I could see even if somebody was there a whole summer or a couple weeks at a time, but when you have new people living next door to you every weekend, it's kind of scary a little bit because you don't know who they are. And I am a widow and I don't know if that's allowed, the Airbnbs.
So short-term rentals is the generic term for Airbnb,
Yeah.
VRBOs.
Or
whatever you
RB,
wanna-
whatever, yeah.
So they are permitted in residential zones. What we do have is we have a mercantile license process that they have to file for through our construction office and through our clerk's office. They have to provide details on how many bedrooms there are, because that limits it determines the number of nights they're allowed to rent to short-term rental tenants. So there is a process for that. What I would do, before you leave, could you give us the address of the location?
I think it's 454. I'm not sure.
Okay, we have it. So what we'll
You
do is
have
we'll
it?
check and
Okay.
make sure that they have the proper permitting. If they
Okay.
don't, they will be
But
advised
like,
of that.
for like just Saturday and Sunday, or Friday and Saturday, you're allowed to rent like for 2 days.
That's what short-term rentals are, yes. So there is an ordinance that addresses that, and we do have that on the books. And they are required to get inspections and permits and things of that nature.
I know they clean the house and I realize that, but it's just a little scary not knowing who's coming in next door to you every weekend. That's the problem I have. You know, and my neighbor on the other side, she rented for the whole summer and I have no problem with that because I see the people and I know the people. But it's when people come in, new people come in every weekend. I mean, in the beginning of the summer, they had kids there and they, you know, but she don't rent to kids anymore, but there was a problem, I understand. But I wasn't in that weekend. I wasn't here that weekend.
So what I will suggest, if they do things that are inappropriate, too noisy, parking in the wrong places or things like that, please call our police department, our code office.
Yeah,
We have a non-emergency line for PD. You can call them at any time
yeah,
and report any issues you see. If it's trash laying around or anything, if the property's not kept appropriately, those are all requirements that they have to meet in order to get that mercantile license.
okay.
So if there's
And
any.
how are they vetted? How are these people, you know, how do I know who they are? Like,
So we don't vet the tenants. That's up to the owner of the property to do that. What we do is we talk to the owners of the property and they're the ones who have to get the permits. We inspect the site, make sure it's the right number of bedrooms for the number of nights that they're allowed to rent. They're not allowed to do one night rentals. We've eliminated that for the
okay,
most part, because that tends to be a party house. Weekend rentals, it's a way certainly in the off season for people to come here and stay here and go to whether it's cheerleading or basketball tournaments in Atlantic City. It keeps and we had a lot of hearings on this. I don't know if you were here for any of those
no,
over the last 3 years. I'll say we've had probably 6 public hearings on short-term rentals while we were writing the ordinances. And a lot of it came from our business community that keeps them alive in the wintertime, in the off season. These people coming in on the weekends in January, February, March, and in this fall as well, keeps our businesses open and helps them make it through to the next summer season. Summer season's not really a problem, but in the off season, it tends to be for our businesses. So that's something that we tried to weigh with allowing the short-term rentals.
okay. And another problem, people have to, I don't know if you could put out anything that I walk on the boardwalk every morning and people walk their dogs and some people do not pick up their dog after their dogs. That's another problem.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And
that's
even on the
actually-
beach and even,
dogs-
and I walk on the beach in the summer
Yep.
and I see them and they just, I realize you have somebody to come over and clean it, but I think people should put signs up or I don't know what you could do, but they do not pick up after their dogs, a
Well,
lot of people.
I'll take that if it's
Yeah.
okay.
Go ahead.
We have specifically raised the number of seasonal officers that we hire. So
Okay.
it's hard to find them, but we're always looking for at least 8. And that's one of their main tasks is to patrol the boardwalk and I've seen them. And in fact, one of them, our most active ones is now going to be a full-time officer and
Mhm.
he would chase down the people with dogs, no matter which direction they were coming. The problem is we're right in that shoulder season where it's nice enough for people to walk their dogs. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. I've had some pretty bad incidents behind dogs.
I mean, I
riding my
almost
bike
stepped
or
in it.
running.
I walk
And-
barefooted on the beach, you
and I-
know, I don't want to,
Stop myself from jumping in and telling them, but the more people that do it in the summer, the more we're gonna give out warnings and citations.
okay.
Tim, can't we establish like a really hefty fine?
We did.
We
That's-
did.
We did. We
We
passed
did.
regulations last year with regard to
Yeah,
having dogs on the beach when they're not appropriate, off leash on the beach.
we raised it
and
to
and
500.
Dogs on the boardwalk. It's a 500.
How about like leaving your stuff?
You
Leaving
can't
their,
even have the dog there.
yeah, okay.
That's the thing.
I
So
got
we
one
raised
more.
the fine.
Bicycles.
Mm.
They shouldn't be on the side streets where they have small streets where there's double parking and you're behind them and they won't move over. That's another problem.
That's a public right of way. You can't prohibit bicycles on any streets in the city.
You can't,
Not on the cross streets. No,
You can't prohibit bicycles on any street.
on any street. 'Cause
well, they're on there. So,
I
mean,
know we cannot prohibit them.
you can't prohibit, but can't they move over? I mean, if you're behind them and they don't move
You're
over.
trying to control people's actions. There's no way you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah,
Look, we've been,
kindness is not as.
that
is-
courtesy.
When you get
lost.
the finger.
Well,
Yeah, that's right.
that's, I wish we could,
Okay.
Yeah,
but common courtesy has kind of gone by the wayside in our society.
yeah.
And it's a shame. It really is.
And they ride three abreast on Ventnor Avenue instead of single file.
Yeah.
You see that in the summer, you see
I
them
know.
three abreast.
Mm.
So now that should be illegal.
So yeah, it's part of the negative side of this. We triple in size. We go from 10,000 to
I know.
30,000.
I
And
know.
those parking places that you're looking for, I know nobody, it's unfortunate, fortunately, we go to the beach, but we're also not Egg Harbor Township. Yeah, like the mayor said, it's something you can't really fine people for being unkind. I wish we
Okay.
could,
All right.
or arrest them.
All right. I said my piece.
Thank you for coming out. I appreciate it, Lorraine.
I'm not going to keep you long. I love Ventnor, but
Aw.
they do have to have a little bit of changes. And in retrospect to what she just said about that parking going down the street, I always turn around and say, you're driving down the street. Somebody's talking to the partner on the side. They swing the door open. You take off the door or you hit somebody. And whose fault is it? The one that was parked and swung the door open on somebody coming down the street?
Yeah,
That always scares me.
Yeah.
narrow
I
street.
ride a lot on the streets and that's something, it's called dooring or something like that.
Door, yeah,
Dooring.
Yeah,
It's something you got to watch out for.
that's terrifying.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, that always worries me.
Yeah.
Now, the parking, I still have a problem with. And I think, I live here 30 years. I love Ventnor. So I think that to the residents that live here all year round, when they're changing the street like that, I think something, paperwork should go out. Little things saying, well, we're changing. I went to the Wawa and I parked in front of that bicycle shop all the time. I went there 2 weeks ago and I come out and I got a parking ticket. And I said, I don't know why. When people, you might have a sign out, but when people are turning the corner, they're not looking at a little sign this big that's saying, you can't park on this side of the street. Now, I know it now because I live down here, but a lot of people don't know that. So I got
Nothing's
it.
changed on that street in quite a while. That no parking, that loading zone that's there right in, where you're on the side street there.
I went to the side street, yeah, because I had a problem with going inside the lot there.
Right.
So all the
That
time,
no parking area has not changed in the.
On Little Rock. you
On
mean?
Little Rock, our administration. I don't think we've changed anything on that.
No,
well, I parked probably 3 weeks ago and right in front of that bicycle. And I always park there, never got a ticket. I came out, I got a ticket.
Well,
Yeah.
no one saw you parking there because you can't park there. It's always been a no parking area.
yeah.
Wow, but there's always people parked there. That's
Usually-
why I parked there.
Usually there's people that are dropping off like their bikes for repairs. That's what it's designed
It's a
for.
loading zone for the
the
bike shop.
So it may have been.
You're on the bike shop side of the
the
street.
only
I was
job
on the
part.
bike side.
Yeah, that's-
Usually I park the other side, but nobody was there. And I figured, well,
Exactly.
everybody, a couple people told me that they weren't giving out tickets because it was winter time.
So that's the meter. So, and that will change. That's something we should have talked about actually. So our meters are free this year from Thanksgiving until April 1st.
Yeah.
We do shut them down in the winter. I think that's a practice I think we're going to probably keep for the foreseeable future. But that doesn't mean you can park where there's no parking for free. Not even for free. You can't park there at any time.
And some of the streets you go down, because when I first moved down here, some of the streets, the trees cover those signs
Hmm.
and they're not cut. So you don't know that it's not, it's a parking
Right. We have increased our work with Public Works in making those signs more legible, whether it's trees or replacing those signs. We've done a lot of that, and that's actually changed more recently with Mr. Santoro's jumping in here at our Public Works Superintendent. So we have a program now that is tree trimming and new signs that are more legible to help that situation.
Also, with Lorraine, I live down the street from Lorraine. And, with the Airbnb, people coming in and out, I did find out one time there were about 18 kids renting a house.
And that's part of the restrictions we put on it. Like
I
said,
found that out.
two years ago, if there's a capacity load.
And what
Uh,
happens with that is that the people that live on the street, like, let's say you bring your family down and you're there for the weekend or you're there for a week. Okay, so the people that live there, when their family comes down, there's no place to park because all these kids are coming in.
We understand that, and that's part of the reason we put restrictions on homes that are being used for short-term rentals, that there's an occupancy load for that home. It's basically a number of bedrooms. Our guys go in, they measure those bedrooms, they say, all right, you can fit 2 people in this bedroom. And then that's the occupancy load based on how many bedrooms there are in that dwelling. And that's what sets it.
Yeah,
So that's what our rules are set to do. If they're in violation of that, they can be fined. If they break that rule enough, their mercantile license can be taken away and they're no longer permitted to rent.
Okay,
But-
another
but by-
thing
but
that
by the way,
upsets me is the fact that those people that do the renting, the people don't put the trash cans out. And when they finally put them out, those trash cans sit out front of our street a week and a half or something. Nobody moves them. And
So
and that's,
you can call code and they will issue a violation. If those violations continue, that's what I'm trying to say.
okay,
If there's violations at that location because it's a short-term rental, please either call the police department or call the code office and they will write a violation for that. If there's enough violations that these guys aren't acting appropriately and they're disturbing the neighborhood, we can pull their mercantile license and they will lose the privilege. And it is a privilege to rent that house as a short-term rental. So
okay.
please, if you see something like that, you too, Lorraine, I forgot your, Morano, sorry. If you see these things, I didn't want to be familiar and call you by your first name, so I'm going to look for.
Carolyn Merritt.
Thank you. So please call because that goes against them when they try to get that mercantile license renewed.
Okay,
I appreciate that.
listen, I really need hearing aids. Thank you for this.
There you go.
welcome.
There you go.
And it was a pleasure to come here tonight.
Good.
Thank
Glad
you.
you guys came out. We don't
Yeah.
get a lot of people, so it's nice to have.
Yeah.
Listen, I believe I met, Myra.
Myra,
Is that right?
yeah.
You? I met you. Patty is a delight.
Oh, I'm Maria.
Hi,
I'm Maria. I thought you were saying you met a friend of mine named Myra, but I'm Maria. Yes, you came in the office,
I
right?
did.
You did. And
And-
Patty, yes.
Yeah,
uh-huh.
and Patty was wonderful. The one that takes the taxes,
Margaret,
who?
Margaret.
Margaret.
Yeah.
I tell her the only time I see you is when you're taking money from me. How come I don't see you around the neighborhood? So everybody in here is a delight and I want you to know it. I love Ventnor.
Good.
I
That's
try to
great.
push people
Yeah.
from my family to get a place. Although I see we're getting bigger townhouses like Margate. But I'd like to go to one of them, but that has like a $2 million home on that
Yeah.
price tag.
So Margaret will hear your compliment because her husband is running our Zoom meeting right now. He's our
Right.
IT director, so I'm sure he'll go home and tell her.
Ah,
But thank you, ladies, for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. It's nice to get feedback.
listen, thank you so much.
It's nice to see you again. Yeah.
It was a joy to be here.
Nice to
Good.
see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you and have a nice night.
Okay, anyone on Zoom, Jim, that wants to comment?
Anybody on Zoom who wishes to comment or speak on any item, please raise your hand and I will unmute you. Nope.
All right. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Good. So long.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jim.